Close your eyes, keep your spine erect, focus on the breath. Let the Dhamma talk just sit in the background. You'll hear what you need to hear, but at all times maintain focus on the breath, because that's really what we're trying to cultivate here. In this Dhamma talk, review Sutta MN 105, the discourse To Sunakkhatta. In this discourse, Buddha presents an array of similes. It is set in Vesali, where Sunakkhatta, a lecturer, is observing a large group of monks declaring their awakening to the Buddha. Later, Sunakkhatta approaches Buddha to validate whether all of these monks in the gathering had indeed gained awakening. Buddha confirms that yes, there was a number of monks that gained awakening, but there were also others that had overestimated their achievements. Buddha then goes on to explain how this has happened and how one can identify what one's achievements are by reviewing their actions and other causal factors. First simile he presents to Sunakkhatta is that of a villager. He says, suppose a villager leaves his hometown or city long ago, and that after some time he bumps into another man from that same town, that same village. And on meeting him, he would ask, how are those villagers back home? How are they keeping? Are they well? Buddha relates this simile to a contemplative that is still shackled by the 5 strings of sensuality, that is, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and tactile sensations. He uses the simile of a yellow leaf that can never turn green, that has fallen from the tree, from the stem, to refer to a contemplative that is practicing towards tranquility, working on the attainments of the 4th jhana, the dimension of infinitude of space, and the dimension of infinitude of consciousness, and that, like the fallen leaf, it would never lend an ear, take delight in the topic or discussion of the villager. Buddha then gives the next simile of a thick rock broken in two, never to be joined again. He makes reference to the jhanic state of the dimension of nothingness, and one who takes delight and pursuit in that jhanic state, like the rock, never to be put together again, cannot take joy or lend an ear towards any discussion related to the practice of tranquility. The next simile Buddha introduces is that of a man enjoying and taking delight in a delicious meal, and then later vomiting that meal, and then questioning, would that man again eat that delicious meal after vomiting it out? And in the same way, one who strives towards the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception no longer enjoys or wants to feed on the dimension of nothingness. Buddha then presents the last in this particular series of similes. He refers to a palm tree. Suppose a palm tree were to be cut from the top, then that palm tree would take no further growth. He refers to this simile in reference to one in pursuit of unbinding. In such a person, they no longer take passion and delight in the pursuits of the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception, nothingness, or even tranquility. But then he introduces two similes to separate between the two types of people intent on pursuing unbinding. First simile is of a man that is wounded by a poisoned arrow and was to then meet with a doctor who would remove that arrow and the poison, but a residual amount of poison would remain. However, the doctor would offer some advice to the man, saying, attend to your wound, apply a particular ointment, and protect it from dust and dirt, and that wound will recover. But for such a person who does not heed the doctor's advice, who believes that the wound will cure itself, the wound will fester, and he will then either die or experience deathly pain. Buddha relates this particular simile to a contemplative that has declared the pursuit of unbinding, yet with inappropriate attention pursues sight, sound, smells, tastes, tactile sensations and ideas with passion, desire and ill will. For such a person, they did not heed the teacher's advice, and they too will meet with death and death-like suffering. The next simile the Buddha presents is of that man with the poisoned arrow, and in this instance the doctor removes that poisoned arrow cleanly without no residual poison at all. The doctor repeats that you should attend to that wound, apply this ointment, and protect it from dust and dirt. And in this instance, the man would attend to that wound by attending appropriately, and it would not fester, and he would not meet with death or death-like suffering. And Buddha compares this simile to a contemplative intent on unbinding that is not shaken, stirred, grows disenchanted and dispassionate about sight, smells, tastes, tactile sensations and ideas, and as such does not experience death or death-like suffering, and instead experiences deathlessness and unbinding. Finally, Buddha goes on to conclude with, it is attachment, acquisition, craving and clinging that is the cause of all of this suffering. And a contemplative who is wise and knows to restrain themselves from all attachments, from all craving and clinging, then that is one who is destined for unbinding. And the two similes that he refers to here is that of the poisonous drink. He says, suppose there were a man being offered a drink pleasant in colour, pleasant in aroma, pleasant in the texture of the bronze cup in which it was offered, but poisoned. A wise one would not accept that drink. The final simile in this sutta is that of the poisonous snake. He says, suppose there was a poisonous snake and a man who took joy and delight in life, in living. Would he stretch his hand out towards the poisonous snake? What these two similes represent is a wise one, a contemplative, intent on unbinding, restraining the senses, not pursuing, craving, clinging, acquisition, or attachment. So how should you apply the teachings in this sutta? Each time you breathe in and breathe out, you should try and direct your mind away from the 5 strings of sensuality. And after attaining form, fine material, jhanic attainments, you should direct your mind away from the attachment of tranquility. And after gaining formless jhanic attainments, you should direct your mind away from the attachment of the dimension of nothingness or the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception. And you should continue to breathe, refining each breath, restraining yourself, restraining the mind from pursuing passion, desire, and ill will, but rather restraining oneself. It is in this way that you can understand a contemplative's practice and their attainment. It is by looking at their actions. It is by looking at their breath.